What's going on, guys? I hope you guys are well. So, guys, Demetrius Andrade, wow. He absolutely destroys Jason Quigley in 2 rounds. What a performance by Andrade. Andrade, the guy's got skills. There's no doubt about it. Demetrius Andrade has unbelievable skills. He's a talent. I don't want to hear any nonsense about this, that, he throws back. Someone mentioned on a live stream, I don't know whether it was Cito, someone mentioned that, Demetrius Andrade is reckless and he comes across reckless. Sergio Mora made a great point on air. He said that Andrade looks reckless, but that's more by design. Andrade's recklessness makes him awkward. The guy throws punches from weird angles, like his left, hook. It comes from, behind his head, and he brings it with a lot of power, and he comes across wild. But he's got very fast hands. For me, more than wild, he's awkward. He's a horrible fighter to get in the ring with. And you know what? The funny thing is, a lot of you guys, and Canelo said he's a horrible fighter. He's very boring. I actually find Andrade quite exciting. I don't know what's boring about him. I've seen a couple of fights of Andrade. I don't really find him that boring, to be honest with you. I think he's got really fast hands. Anybody that's got really fast hands is generally exciting and pleasing to watch, pleasing to the eye. I don't really understand when people say he's such a horrible fighter. That performance there, what was horrible about that? What wasn't exciting about that? I don't quite understand. Like, you get Rigondeaux. He's a very technical, it's all about the sweet science with Rigondeaux, and it can come quite boring. But with Andrade, I don't think he's that boring. I actually think he's quite exciting. His style is quite good. His vulnerability there. I think if he gets hit right, I think he'll go down as well. I think there's a vulnerability there. I saw that with Williams. He got staggered. So there is definitely, if he fights a strong puncher, I do think there's openings, because he's quite an offensive fighter. There are openings for him to be chinned himself, and I think he can be hurt. So I don't quite understand when people say he's such a horrible fighter. I don't really buy that. In terms of the fight, he totally outclassed Quigley. Quigley wasn't really at his level. He caught Quigley with some big shots, in the first round. And Quigley was doing well. The first round was quite cagey. And I thought, he's shaping up well. He looks pretty good. But Andrade, like I said, Andrade's an explosive fighter. He bursts into life. And this is why I said that I would favor Andrade over Billy Joe, because Billy Joe's quite a technical, good southpaw. He's good defensively. He's got good footwork. But Andrade's more explosive than Billy Joe. Andrade's got more power. Andrade's a lot more, like, he's got that killer instinct in him, more so than Billy Joe. Billy Joe doesn't really have that killer instinct. He's more of a pure boxer. Whereas I feel like Andrade has more killer instinct in him. And I think Andrade's a talent. I do. I think he's, his career's so far been wasted, in the sense that he's not managed to get a big fight, and his career's wasting away. He's a very, very good fighter. My eyes don't lie. I've been watching boxing a long time, and Andrade's a very, very, very good fighter. He needs to step up. He needs to get a big fight. I know I made a video that, Andrade's probably the most avoided fighter in boxing, and you guys probably saw that. And I saw some of your comments. Some of you were saying, well, he ducked Lara, he ducked Jamel Charlo. That was then. That was ages ago when you're talking about that. We're living in the present now. In the present, and I don't want to hear Canelo. I don't want to hear Canelo against Andrade, because I couldn't care less about that. Canelo's going to cruiserweight. They're a couple of divisions apart. I don't want to hear Canelo Andrade. I want to hear us as fans, you guys as fans, to put pressure on to make the Charlo fight. We know Andrade's calling for the Charlo fight. We know Andrade's calling for Munguia. Munguia's not even champion. He's not even champion. Munguia's not even champion. He's his mandatory. And Andrade is asking Munguia, fight me. Golovkin. If Golovkin beats Murata, surely Golovkin has to fight Andrade next. The fight's on DAZN. And I don't understand why Golovkin wouldn't want to fight him. Andrade's vulnerable. He's not a huge puncher. He's not the kind of puncher that, in my opinion, is going to knock Golovkin out. I'm confused. I'm really confused. I'm disappointed. I'm dejected as a fan. And a lot of you, one thing I saw a lot of you guys in the comments, you're kind of like, rather than putting pressure, you're as fans, we need to be putting pressure so these fights happen. Not, oh, well, it's Andrade's fault because Andrade didn't fight Lara. Andrade didn't fight, he ducked this guy. No, that was then. Now is now. And right now, you guys want to see Andrade fight Golovkin. You want to see him fight Charlo. You want to see him in a big fight. You know, all of you know he's a good fighter. He's not crap. He's a good fighter. He's a world champion for a reason. He's a good fighter. How are we as fans not putting pressure so then these fights get made? And a lot of you saying it's not the failure of the system. Of course it's the failure of the system. They're not fighting each other. It's frustrating. It's disappointing as a fan that they're not fighting one another. You know, how as Eddie Hearn said, how is Demetrius Andrade and Charlo? That's probably one of the biggest fights in boxing. Two undefeated world champions. How is that fight not being made? And Charlo hasn't even got a fight. Charlo hasn't even got a fight. Guys, like, do you not see where I'm coming from here? Like, Charlo hasn't even got a fight, man. He hasn't even got a fight. It's just very disappointing as a fan. You know, it's just so disappointing. But in terms of his performance, he did well. You know, he landed a huge left hook in the second round and Quigley was done and then he just finished off. I think he was just too fast. He was too fast, too skillful, too sharp for Quigley. And Quigley wasn't on his level. And if he keeps fighting guys like Quigley, and Quigley's a good fighter. He's not. Quigley's a decent fighter. The problem is Andrade's a very good fighter. And he may even be a great fighter. But he's not being tested. He's not being tested. These guys, like, what you got to understand is in boxing, camps, when you have camps, they take a lot out of you. Right? So that fight was easier than the camp. But every time you're going into camp, you're putting your body under a lot of stress. There's only so long you can do that for. Eventually, you know, you're not going to be the same fighter. And he's just destroyed Jason Quigley. It's time now. It's time now for Charlo and those guys. Because Charlo's not getting any younger. Charlo's getting older. It's time for these guys to step up and fight each other before it's too late. Before it becomes like a Khan Brook. Honestly, look how big that fight would have been. Like Jamal Charlo and Andrade fight is nowhere near as big as Khan and Brook would have been in their primes. That would have sold out 100,000 here in the UK. That would have done over 1 million pay-per-view buys here in the UK. Now it probably struggles to do 400,000 pay-per-view buys. It probably struggles to sell out 30,000, let alone 100,000. Both guys didn't capitalize when the timing was right for that fight. Jamal Charlo and Andrade have a great opportunity right now to learn from past mistakes like that and capitalize while the iron's hot, while they're in their prime, while they're undefeated. One of them gets B, the other you know, that's it. Done. The fight doesn't hold that same interest. I feel like it's our responsibility as fans to put the pressure on. I feel like it's the promoter's job now they have to make the fights. They have to make the fights. You know, I feel like Andrade's next fight has to be against Golovkin, Charlo, or Munguia. Or I think it has to be on that kind of level. It has to be against a world-class middleweight. It has to be against an elite level middleweight. It can't be against Jason Quigley or Liam Williams. Like, no disrespect to those guys. They're good fighters. But they're not as good as your Andrades. They're not as good as your Munguias, your Golovkins. That's the level of fighters that Andrade needs to be going in with next. Enough's enough. Enough. We've seen enough of him fighting, you know, Quigley and Williams. It's time to step up to that next level and fight your Golovkins and fight your Charlos, you know. And it's we as fans have responsibility. I really want to see Andrade get a big fight. I really want to see Andrade get a break. And I don't want to hear Canelo's name. I don't want to hear Andrade v Canelo, because at the end of the day, Canelo is doing his thing. And Canelo is just cleaned out a division. He's doing what he wants to do. He's going up to cruiserweight and fighting a champion there. He wants to create legacy. He wants to create history, you know. I also think if Andrade can't get those fights, right, he needs to think about moving up to 168 and fighting Benavidez. Because Benavidez is also a guy I believe that would fight Andrade in a heartbeat. And I feel that fight would be made. I think that fight could be made. But if Andrade really wants to make a statement, that's also another fight that I think he could consider. Now, yes, Benavidez hasn't got a belt. But remember, Canelo may vacate his belts. If Canelo vacates his belts, those belts are going to become vacant. And who knows, maybe Benavidez and Andrade could fight for a vacant title. You know, I'll be up for that. But the point I'm trying to make is that the next fight of Demetrius Andrade has to be a big one. It has to be. It has to be a big one. It has to be something meaningful. It has to be huge. It has to be. You know, and hopefully we as fans can finally get what we want. You know, I really want to see Jamal Charlo v Demetrius Andrade. I really want to see it. I don't care what network. I don't care who gets the biggest. I just want to see the fight made. That's it. That's it. Guys, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. Smash the like button. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, guys.